Jump in and go because this full moon is a big one and there's lots to talk about. And again, I'm using my little astrology wheel as a playing field to showcase some of the bigger energies that are happening right now. But I'll start with the full moon because it's a super moon and it's a blood moon and it's a total lunar eclipse. And so there's a lot to talk about just with that alone. I'll start with the fact of it being a super moon. A supermoon means it's just very close to the Earth, so it's going to look super big in the night sky. The blood moon comes into effect because of the eclipse, and as you can see, we have the moon being represented here in the sign of Leo, and the sun is directly opposite on the wheel, and it's in the just moved into the sign of Aquarius, and the Earth is right in between. And so the sun will cast the Earth's shadow onto the moon, and since it is so close, that supermoon, it puts like a red hue around it, so it's been dubbed the blood moon as well. And that total lunar eclipse is the final eclipse in a long series of eclipses that have been stemming back as far back as a recent one that maybe in our lifetimes we remember is 1964, another one in 1982. These are like a seasonal or they share the same ecliptical cycle, and they're coming through to a closure on this one. So think back to 64 and 82 if you were alive then, and think about what the energy was at the time, and this is coming to a closure at this time on this particular total lunar eclipse. Now the eclipse in general, eclipse means cutting or to cut if you remember from Micah's report last time, and the eclipse energy cutting is a little dicey in itself, just like when you're chopping and cutting up your vegetables and fruits, you want to be paying attention where your fingers are with that knife. So eclipse energy, pay attention because this is a cutting energy right now. And then the full moon, as we know, the full moons are always extra energetic or emotional because of the water, tides, poles, energies that are bigger and stronger. Well, you're 80% water, just like the moon pulls the ocean tides bigger. It's pulling on your own internal systems as well, which are mostly water. And so you might feel a little bit swishy or mushy or flowy or not totally contained in your emotional body. So because of all that extra energy on this particular full moon, I think this full moon is one of the more emotional full moons we'll experience in the year. Added to that emotional bit is it's right on the cusp between Cancer and Leo. It just moved into Leo, so it is a Leo full moon, but it's at 0 degrees Leo, so it's just starting its journey through Leo. Leo is the playful lion. It's the lion-hearted. It's brave and courageous. It likes to be on stage. It likes to showcase its creativity. It's a very creative sign. As I said, it just left out of Cancer, and it's Cancer is very emotional, very sensitive, and so we still have some of that watery emotion left over from Cancer, moving into that lion energy, which can be tenacious and a little bit full of itself on the dark side of the Leo. An arrogance can come forward, and that can just all be fodder for a lot of emotional energy. So that is the full moon, total lunar eclipse happening. There's many other players, as you can see lined up here, that are going to affect this particular time. The total lunar eclipse will be on the 20th, Sunday, and in some parts the 21st of this month. And that's also when the sun will move into Aquarius. So big shift on that day. The nodes, which I don't have represented here, the north and south nodes are at these same Leo Aquarius accesses, and that's why they have an eclipse. When the sun and moon line up with the nodes, that's why we have an eclipse. So the nodes are there too. The north node is here with the full moon, and it is where our energy wants to go forward to. The north node represents where our soul or our dharma energy wants to move forward to. And so this creative piece, this lion-hearted, courageous, finally standing up on stage and saying who I am and what I believe in and what my values are, and using your creative shine and bringing it forth. And then the south node is in Aquarius, and Aquarius is the revolutionary, the inventor. It's electricity and lightning. It's the collective community of people in that revolutionary energy. And the south node represents where we've been, where we, our soul has come from, and maybe what we're letting go of, or what has influenced where we are to today. And so the sun there is putting a little shine or spotlight on where we've been. And this eclipse can cut some of that energy that is no longer serving us of where we've been. And as I said, this is kind of a collective, revolutionary, inventive energy in Aquarius. So to me, it's a great time for us to make that ecliptical cut on some old societal ideas that no longer serve us, and reinvent where we are with our values as a people and where we want to go forward. That's looking at as the collective big picture, but you can channel that into the individual self too. Where would you like some revolution in your life? Where would you like to put a spotlight on your self and say, I want to move this forward and evolve it and cut some of this old paradigm out of my life that I've been living by. Okay, so I said that's the eclipse. I'm going to move here to this little party in the back here at Capricorn. We've got quite a lineup: Pluto and Mercury and Saturn. And Saturn is home in Capricorn. There's actually 4 planets this time that are in their home base. I equate it to like there's a home team advantage in sports when the home team has the home field. There's their home crowd there to support them. They're accustomed to that field. They know things. Well, Saturn's got the home team advantage here. He's in home base of Capricorn. So they share a similar energy. Capricorn likes law and order. Saturn likes law and order. This is what the community needs for its best interest. Capricorn is time, Saturn represents time. It's Chronos in Greek mythology. So the timekeeper. So there's a lot to do with law and order and grounding ourselves as a collective. Capricorn is very community oriented. This is where we start to step into institutions, government, schools, things that we need for the good of the whole. But maybe the way it's been set up, the old regime has not been serving us today. Where we are now as a person or a peoples today. We might need to have a little bit of that Aquarian energy to help invigorate or reinvent some of those societal norms or institutions that we've been living by. So Mercury's right in between Pluto and Saturn. Mercury is the communication piece. And the way I kind of feel right now, Mercury is sitting in between these 2 big energies. And I was trying to think of an example of who these could be played by. And I have made Saturn maybe could be represented as Luke Skywalker, and Pluto could be Yoda. And then Mercury is, home base is Gemini, so it's that twin or split energy, and I put that as R2-D2 and C3PO both, because they're very communicative. They have that robotic, communicative energy where they're always tinkering and working with transmissions and such. And C3PO has that kind of anxious, nervous energy, what to do, and R2-D2 just goes and gets it, takes care of business. Right now they're sitting in between these 2 big gurus. I made Saturn be Luke Skywalker because Luke was always fighting for good and wanted law and order to do the right thing and be the best. And Pluto, who is kind of our deep soul self, that's Yoda, right? That's like the deep wise one. And Mercury, R2D2 and C3PO, are sitting in between these two gurus, and they're kind of gathering up all the information from these wise ones. They're hearing and listening to what they're saying about community, about transforming the institutions, revolutionizing the way we've been doing things, and they're gathering up all this information. And just like those good little robots did on Star Wars, then they're going to go plug it into the areas that we need. So keep an eye on Mercury down the road in the next reports, because he'll be taking all this gathered great energy that he's getting from the gurus, and he'll take it all around the elliptical for us in the future. So then there's Pluto, and as I mentioned, I'm kind of dubbing him as Yoda in this one. Pluto is your soul self, and your soul self is in this sign, this earth sign of Capricorn that wants to be grounded, wants to be solid in its stance, wants to say what it means and be who it is. Yoda does that naturally. Your soul wants to do that naturally. So Pluto in Capricorn is a really good fit for it. It feels home base here as well, even though this isn't its home sign. So these three heavy hitters are in alignment, kind of creating a wall. Well, this is a kind of wall that I would like to see built in our society, having these strong energies together, not the current wall that's trying to be built. So that brings me to something that's happening in the aspects is there's a square between Saturn and Mars over here in Aries. You can see this makes a nice 90-degree angle, so we call that a square. Mars is home in Aries, so Mars is the warrior energy. Aries is that strong warrior sign. And this is kind of the, I'll do this, I can do things, I'll fight, fight, fight. And Saturn is saying, do you have your game plan in order? Do you know what the heck you're doing? And so there's this little tug of war between law and order and our will, what we want to do. And we don't always like to be told to check in, make sure we have our T's crossed and our I's dotted. We like to just go and get it done. And Saturn kind of keeps us in check. Like we need stop signs and we need street lights and we need some governing forces to help us guide our way. Saturn's going to be checking in with Mars, and we might feel like we're being pushed up against our will on some things. This is something's bigger than me is controlling me, and I don't like it, and I want to fight it. So that's what I meant earlier when I was talking about the lunar eclipse being a very charged, emotional moon, because of this big square, in addition to, I should say, this big square between Mars and Saturn. It could really add to that charge. This has a lot of fight potential. This has a lot of the warrior and the lawmaker could be in a big fight. Saturn represents, as I said, time, and so there's this sense of age, and I think it's kind of a perfect example of maybe a little bit of that conflict is that current little trend in Facebook right now with the put your profile picture from 2009 up and then put your profile picture from 2019 and compare and show everybody. And some people are like all about it. They're like, look at me, I haven't aged a bit. And they have this continuity between the Mars and the who I am and what I'm supposed to be kind of law. And then some people are like, screw it, I'm not putting my picture up, that's stupid, I don't care. That's a similar, like, are we aging gracefully? Are we evolving in our age? Are we fighting our age? Are we Botoxing and eyelashing everything so that we don't look any older? And so this is kind of having us check in with a bit of age, because time and age go together. And I feel like that's a big piece right now, is learning to step into who we are at any age and evolve ourselves into who we are. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago in 2009. It's nice to have that reflection, leave the ego out of it. Don't be jaded if you have a few more wrinkles and some gray hairs or a little extra weight. Or maybe you've really turned things around and you can be really proud of yourself. You've come out of a slump and you've raised your vibration. But it's not to be taken as a conflict in our life, but to use it as an evolutionary process. And I think this square is making us check in. Are we allowing ourselves to evolve with grace and with ease and with comfort? Or are we fighting it and bucking it and trying to resist it? It's part of the process. Some other energies that are big that I want to talk about is another planet that's in its home sign, and that's Neptune in Pisces. Neptune represents the kind of boundless, no borders, openness, imagination, dreamy, mystical. The ocean is a perfect embodiment of what Neptunian energy is. That's Poseidon. And Pisces is also the same. Everything I just mentioned about Neptune is very much Pisces. And so the upshot of this is it's like a big spiritual wonderland. We could think of this as the spiritual potential of ourself. And the downside of it is this is the delusion or being lost in the grandeur and not seeing through the murky waters the truth of things. This could look like numbing ourselves with our addictions and overdoing, overindulgence. So that's Neptune. Well, Neptune also has a square similar, and this square is with Venus and Jupiter in the sign of Sagittarius. Now these two are stacked on top of each other. This is the Venus, goddess of beauty and love, and she's right on top of the big dog Jupiter. They're conjoined, as we say in this language. They're super close to each other, and they are using each other's energy, so they almost become a one energy. There was a lady in my class last night, and beautiful, she's in her full pregnancy, like the last 9 months of it, and I was like, you are Jupiter-Venus embodiment right there, just gorgeous, full, the baby love in her belly, and that expansive energy of the belly. That is a nice representation of Venus and Jupiter conjoined. So love and big truth. So this is a big energy, and that's, you know, just saying that in itself sounds so beautiful, like big truth, big love. But it can also become potentially troublesome when it butts up into this ambiguous, boundless energy. Big love with no boundaries could look like an orgy. Big love with no boundaries could look like total debauchery and letting your addictions go completely out of control, chaos, disorder, if you let too much of that good stuff become a thing. But on the other side of it, this could be a chance to really accentuate our spiritual practice. Big love, big truth, and spirituality coming together could give us a chance to really step into who we are on that bigger picture level. Like, we're beyond human, really. We're starting to figure this out as a people. We are not just human beings trying to get a 401k and get that retirement set up, drive a nice car, marry a decent looking person as a trophy, and have some kids, and then die. Really, if that's what we're doing, that's utterly ridiculous. We know we have so much more potential in us, and so this is helping us tap into, well, what is that? What's beyond this human form that I'm trying to access and get into? So you could use that ecliptical energy to help figure this all out and transform it a little bit so that you cut out some of the over excessive use of our drugs, alcohol, food, chocolate, lies, delusions, and we start to tap into or use that revolutionary energy of Sun in Aquarius to move or evolve into a higher consciousness, a higher way of looking at what we're supposed to be doing here as peoples. You know, what is this human form really all about? So I think these two are helping us. Whenever it's a square, like, I immediately go into, oh, that means there's going to be a challenge or a conflict or, you know, squaring off of things. It just means that it takes more energy to focus on it too. It doesn't necessarily have to be a negative, like a fight, but it potentially could be. So you just want to always have as much awareness going into it so you can use your free will to help you discern what is best for you to navigate through these kind of energetic bodies that are playing overhead. Now, I have another interesting square that I want to talk about, and this is my my favorite one to bring in, Uncle Uranus, and he is in the sign of Aries, about to move into Taurus, so he's in the fire sign over here, and he is squaring the moon in Leo and simultaneously squaring the sun in Aquarius. So this is a double square between the sun and the moon, and also that north node and south node I mentioned earlier. Uranus energy, his home is Aquarius. So he's probably going to be looking to where this revolutionary spotlight sun energy is, because that's his home base. He is the random, spontaneous, you never know what he's going to do. He could throw a lightning bolt at you and you have a huge boon, you win the lottery. He could throw a lightning bolt at you and you lose your job and your house and your home and your cars, all the, the opposite side of winning the lottery. You just don't know. It's the wild card in the whole program here. And squaring off against the sun and the moon. So this also adds into that potentially really emotional total lunar eclipse. If he throws lightning bolt towards this moon in Leo, that could really showcase some of our arrogance, bring it to the forefront. We're called out on some of our grandiose ideas that aren't really a truth. Something like that could play out. Or it could be an upshot to the moon in Leo, like the lightning bolt to the lion on the stage. It's an excellent performance. You get that hearty standing ovation, round of applause. They accept the book that you've just offered. You make a recording with that song you've been trying to get out. So it could go in all the ways. And same with it towards the sun. If that lightning bolt comes over here to the spotlight on our innovative, revolutionary self, this could be a time to showcase some great energies that are coming to the forefront, all the environmental awareness that is being brought to the surface that some people say don't exist could just jump up and be in your face. Yes, it does exist. We do have global warming, and here's some things we can do about it. And there's a big movement or a force that moves with that kind of innovative ideas that are coming to the surface as an example, the environmental energy. But that lightning bolt could also come into the innovative play and shut some things down, including some things that are no longer serving us. That lightning bolt could shut down, as maybe Uranus is already in effect, shutting down the government so that we have to stop and think about things. That's a lightning bolt to the system, a lightning bolt to those institutions. And, it's always heart-wrenching to know that people are in trouble when their monies aren't coming in, and blessings to all those government workers that are in a timeout right now. But this is kind of churning, it's grist for the mill, it's getting us all to think about what we value, what we want to evolve with, what we want to revolutionize. And so that is a good example of how that lightning bolt, not necessarily negative, an impact it is on those peoples and the workers, but the impact might create some great change, and that's what I'm hoping for in this. And I also hope that things shift sooner than later. And I believe Chiron is trining with Saturn, and that's just, Saturn is your wound that you carry with you, that you're trying to heal, but there's a constant reminder, it keeps you a little humble. It's a constant reminder of the work and the dedication and the diligence it takes to be in our highest self. And it's working in sextile. It's sextiling, not trining with Saturn. And a sextile is still a harmonious line of energy. But they're working together to help bring what I think is values, like our values. I hold Saturn as one of those that says, what do you believe in? And stand for it. He holds a staff in his hand. Your spine is tall. Saturn is the spine energy. Saturn's your karmas. And he's saying, if you want these wounds to be healed, these two are working together to help heal our wounds, to bring in some values, to help us stand for what we believe in. And I think that's all I've got on this particular report that I wanted to bring in today, which I know is a lot. The big piece, just for a recap, is the lunar eclipse. It's a really great time to wrap up, cut out old ideals, old values that no longer serve us, and let those be clipped away on the eclipse, and then let ourselves shine and roar and be like that lion, playful and childlike, and let our emotions be passionate and loving with that Jupiter energy and Sag and Venus, and let it not become delusional or destructive for ourselves, but actually raise us in our spiritual consciousness a little bit. So all of this is working together, in my opinion, to give the collective a little higher vibration. I wish you the best at this moon time. And this is the wolf moon in the native tradition, so be sure to get a good howl at the moon. Namaste.